herb garlic bread rolls. Hi, I'm Anupa and I welcome you to Sanjeev Kapoor Khazana. We've done a variety of recipes here and every day we put in more efforts to come up with some really exciting ones for you. So like that, today's recipe is another exciting one. These are the bread rolls which you serve with soup, but I have done my bit of variation to this by adding in some herbs, some garlic. So these are nice flavored bread rolls. So to start off with the bread rolls, let's quickly run through the ingredients. We need some refined flour, fresh yeast, sugar, salt, chopped garlic, fresh parsley, some dried herbs, butter, oil. Okay, so to start off with, we have to make the dough, and before we start making the dough, we have to make sure that the yeast is very well proven. So here what I have is, I have fresh yeast, to which I will add in some sugar, and the water has to be warm. So I will put this in the microwave. The water has to be warm and not hot, because if you add hot water, the yeast will die. So just simple warm water. There are a lot of recipes which also demand milk. So in that case, if you are adding milk, that also has to be warm. Whatever liquid medium you add to your yeast has to be warm, because yeast will basically give out carbon dioxide when the entire mixture becomes warm. Of course, not that it will not prove when you add in room temperature water, just that the process becomes a little longer. So this is warm water. So here goes in the water, and the remaining water that I have, I am going to use to make the dough. So after I add in the water, you have to just mix this. It is said that yeast proves well when it comes in contact with sugar. So it is said that sugar is the food for yeast. So sugar and yeast together is what we will set aside for it to form bubbles. When it forms bubbles, that is the time we know that the yeast has started proving, which means the yeast is alive. So you can also do a small check at home, that take some yeast, put some warm water and keep it aside to see if it is alive, because there are a lot of times it so happens that we buy a big pack of yeast and it just lies in the fridge, and after a period of time it just goes bad, it is no longer alive. So to check on that before you make it into a dough, always keep some yeast with some water aside to see if it starts bubbling, and if it is bubbling, which means the yeast is perfect and you can make as many breads as you want. While this is getting bubbly, let's take some refined flour. What I am going to do is, I am going to make this dough right on my tabletop, because it is quite easier for me to stretch the dough, because that is something that you have to do while you make any dough for bread. When you make bread, you have to stretch the dough to activate the gluten. So this is refined flour. Okay, so after we have taken the refined flour on the tabletop, make a well in the center like this, and you see this yeast, it is really bubbling like this. So just, oh lovely. Don't waste anything. I love this aroma of yeast and refined flour getting mixed, lovely. Okay, now you have to just work with the dough and add water and make this into a dough. First add all the water that is mentioned in your recipe, so that you do not have to add anything later. All that you have to do later on is to play with the dough, which means stretch the dough so that you have this lovely soft bread. Take all of this together. Okay. Now once you have taken everything together, start kneading it. Knead till you have a nice and a clean tabletop. All the loose flour which I can still see on this tabletop will all get into the dough. So just work with it while you knead. Take all of this together. Since I have gathered all the loose flour which was on the table, just take this and start stretching it. As of now, it is not stretched as it should be, so it is going to break. You see this? If it breaks like this, which means it needs kneading. So you have to knead this more. You can also use a KitchenAid or a food processor or any kneading machine, but I would still suggest, even if you made the dough in that, you still need to stretch it a bit like this. Okay, so you see this? Lovely, the dough is just stretching and stretching. You see this? This is how it should be. Okay. So now what you have to do is just take the dough and make this into a ball like this. Take some refined flour, dust it and place this on the table. Cover it with a bowl, or you can also cover it with a wet muslin, but you have to cover this till this entire thing doubles in volume. You will find that it will really double up in size, because the yeast that we have added in it has started leaving carbon dioxide, which is why it starts blooming. So, when we have a big amount of dough, we will get it out, knock back, which means we will remove all the air and incorporate all the flavors that we want to. In case if you do not want to do it and make plain bread, then how do we go ahead with that? I will also show you, but right now we need to wait for this to prove. Okay, so this is what has happened to the dough after we had left it to prove. You see, it's really, first of all, it's become quite light. I can feel it, and secondly, it's also doubled in size. So what you have to do is take this off, take some flour, bring out all the air from the dough. Now we have to do two things here. One is we haven't added any flavoring, which is salt or anything, and secondly, like I said, I want to put some garlic, some herbs, so we will do all of that now. So here is the oil that will go in first, oil followed by some salt. Let us add in some chopped garlic, some fresh parsley. You can also add in coriander and mint, that also works really nice, and some dried herbs. That is it. Now just work with the dough. Now this is also going to get little sticky, but you have to knead this. All the oil is going to get absorbed by the dough. Just be patient enough and knead the dough well. Okay, so here you go. My dough is done. Whatever oil that was there, all has gone into the dough. Now is the time when we have to sit and shape this. So how do you do that? And how do you divide it into equal portions? I will give you a trick. I have a weighing scale here. Okay. So what we will do is, we will first weigh this entire dough. So this weighs about 444 grams. Now if I have to divide this into 10, which means each portion should be around 40 grams. Or if we divide this by 8, so approximate weight for per soft roll or per bread roll will be about 50 grams. So let us do that. Let us divide these into 8 portions, and while we are also dividing, we are going to weigh this. So what we will have is, at the end of it, we will have all the bread rolls looking alike. So here I have 50 grams. So similarly, we will weigh all the others and get it to 50 grams. Okay, so here I have all my portioned out dough. So just get all of it together under the muslin cloth, and now what we will do is we will start shaping them. So to shape them, it's either first is when we make this into a nice clean round soft roll. So while I am doing this, I am kind of pressing it on the side and tucking all the dough for it to become a nice and a smooth soft roll. Okay, like this. You see this? Clean, no cracks, nothing. Let us take another one. And after we do this, just and try and do all of this on a flat surface. So once your breads are done, just place them on a flat surface so that it does not stick to the tabletop. pinch this. So this becomes one roll. Or what you can do is, while you make them, you start arranging it also simultaneously on your baking tray. Just grease it lightly with some oil, very lightly. And also while you arrange it on the tray, don't keep it too close, because this is now going to prove, and only after it proves we will put it in the oven. So here we are done with shaping of the rolls. Let's cover this again. When this doubles in volume, we'll apply some egg wash or milk wash and we'll put this in the oven. It doesn't take too long to bake. It will take somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes, and after that some nice butter, melted butter on nicely baked bread rolls. You can have it, put it in your soup, or just have it by itself. So right now we'll wait for this to prove and then we'll see what to do. Okay, so the breads are proven. Let's brush some milk wash. When you apply milk to the bread, it caramelizes, and that's what gives us golden color. If you happen to put bread inside without milk wash, you may not get that kind of color. So to be on the safer side, apply milk or even eggs. Since we haven't added any eggs to the dough, I am refraining using egg as an egg wash, but you can also do that. So after we've applied milk generously, this will now go in the oven, and you will have to keep a watch on the bread. So once all of this turns golden, we'll get it out and brush some nice butter. Oven is preheated at 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we'll see after 20 minutes what happens to the bread rolls. Wow, they're looking awesome. Just quickly apply butter so that they don't dry off. The glaze will only come once you apply butter to this. So after you've applied butter, you can have this whenever you want to. So the bread is done. What are you waiting for? Make this, have it with your hot soup. If no soup, just take the bread, cut it open, apply some more butter, sprinkle some garlic, bake it in the oven and have this freshly made garlic and herb rolls. Once you have made this at home, you will never go to the market to buy rolls from any supermarket, whatever brand it may be, because you will get this happiness of making these things at home all by yourself. And after you've made soft rolls, you can also put them into something that's like a baguette. You can put this into any bread loaf, anything you can do. So if you know how to make soft rolls, you can make baguette, you can make anything else. But I'm just too happy with this. I'm going to have this just as it is, because I've already eaten the soup that I've made. Me and all my colleagues here are going to pounce on this bread and finish it off in flat 2 minutes. So you note down these ingredients, make this recipe just the way I have made it, and you will be super happy.